The morning light of Kepler Prime's artificial sun filtered through the transparent walls of the Galactic Academy. Students from dozens of worlds moved through the hallways like a living rainbow of different shapes, colors, and sizes. Some floated, some walked, and some rolled on wheels or tentacles. Jack Morrison checked his datapad and hurried toward Classroom 7. His human legs moved faster than most other species could manage, but he tried to keep his pace slow. 3 months at the academy had taught him that rushing made his alien classmates nervous. They weren't used to quick movements. "Jack, wait up," called Lisa Chen from behind him. She jogged to catch up, her brown hair bouncing with each step. "Did you finish the reading for Professor Velnara's class?" "Most of it," Jack said. "Some of those galactic history texts are really dry. How about you?" Lisa nodded. "I got through it. The part about the peaceful expansion was interesting. Apparently, most species just spread to new worlds without any conflict at all." They entered the classroom together. The room was designed to accommodate different types of beings. There were floating platforms for gas-based life forms, crystal, holders for silicon creatures, and soft ground patches for plant-like students. Regular chairs sat in rows for humanoid species like Jack and Lisa. Carlos Rivera was already there, sitting in the third row. He waved them over with a smile. "Morning, guys. Ready for another fun day of learning how peaceful everyone else in the galaxy is?" Jack laughed quietly. "Be nice, Carlos. They can't help that they evolved differently than we did." The 3 humans took their seats, just as their classmates began arriving. HFY floated in first, his crystal body catching the light and throwing rainbow patterns on the walls. The Veltar were beautiful creatures, made of living crystal that could change color based on their emotions. Right now, HFY glowed, a soft blue, which meant he was calm and happy. "Good morning, my human friends," HFY said. His voice came from vibrations in his crystal structure, creating a sound like wind chimes. "I hope your rest period was pleasant." "It was great, thanks," Lisa replied. "How was yours?" "I spent the time in harmonic meditation with my podmates. Back home," HFY explained. "We shared thoughts about the beauty of existence and the joy of learning." Next came Moonbeam, though that wasn't her real name. Her actual name was a series of chemical scents that humans couldn't smell or pronounce. She appeared as a shifting cloud of silver and blue gas contained within a transparent walking suit that let her move around solid environments. "Hello, carbon-based friends." Moonbeam's voice came through speakers in her suit. "I have been contemplating the readings about historical development patterns. It fills me with wonder how so many species found paths to growth without destructive competition. Last to arrive was Quill, a plant-like being from the garden worlds. He looked like a walking tree, with bark-like skin and leaves that changed color with his moods. His roots had been modified to work like feet, and he could move around, though slowly. "Greetings, mobile ones," Quill said in his deep, slow voice. "I have been photosynthesizing the concepts from our assigned materials. The patterns of peaceful expansion across the galaxy show great wisdom." Professor Velnara entered the room, her 6 legs moving in perfect coordination. She was from a species that looked like giant spiders, but with more intelligence and much better fashion sense. Today she wore a beautiful blue robe that covered most of her body. "Good morning, young minds," Professor Velnara said. "Today we will discuss your upcoming project. Each of you will present the historical development of your homeworld to the class. This will help us understand how different species approach the challenges of civilization." She moved to the center of the room, her multiple eyes looking at each student. "I want you to focus on how your people solved problems, grew as a society, and expanded beyond your homeworld. We will learn from each other's experiences." HFY's crystal body brightened with excitement. "Professor, may I share what I plan to present about my people?" "Of course, HFY." The crystal being's body shifted to a warm yellow color. The Veltar achieved harmony through the Great Resonance 3,000 years ago. Before that time, we lived as individual crystals, each singing our own song. But we learned to tune our frequencies together, creating beautiful music that brought peace to our entire world. From that point forward, all decisions were made through harmonic consensus. We spread to other worlds by singing to the crystals we found there, teaching them our songs of peace. Wonderful, Professor Velnara said. Moonbeam, what about your people? The gas creature swirled gently in her containment suit. The Serenity Nebula beings have always existed in a state of collective consciousness. We share thoughts and emotions through chemical signals. When we needed to expand to new areas, we simply extended our cloud networks, bringing new gas formations into our shared awareness. Conflict was impossible because we all felt the same feelings and thought the same thoughts. Quill's leaves rustled softly. The garden worlds experienced the great growing 2 millennia ago. All plant life on our worlds became connected through underground root networks. We learned to share nutrients, water, and information instantly across entire continents. When we needed more space, we simply grew onto new worlds, creating great forests that spanned star systems. Since we all shared the same resources, there was never any need for competition. Professor Velnara nodded approvingly at each presentation. Excellent examples of peaceful development. And you, Carlos? What will you share about human civilization? Carlos glanced at Jack and Lisa. His face showed just a hint of nervousness. Well, we're really good at working together. When we need to, we've built some amazing things through cooperation. Such as? The professor prompted. Space stations, cities, art, music? Lisa jumped in quickly. Humans love to create beautiful things together. And we're very good at solving problems, Jack added. When humans face challenges, we find ways to overcome them. Zexhai glowed brighter with interest. It sounds like humans must come from a very peaceful world like ours. I would love to hear about your harmonic traditions. Oh, we have lots of harmony, Carlos said weakly. Moonbeam's gas swirled with curiosity. Do humans also share collective consciousness? You seem to understand each other very well. Not exactly, Lisa said. We're all individuals, but we work together really well. How fascinating, Quill said, his leaves turning a curious shade of green. Individual beings who choose cooperation without being connected by roots or shared thoughts. Your world must have been very peaceful to allow such voluntary harmony to develop. The 3 humans exchanged looks. Jack cleared his throat. Earth is, well, it's a nice place. We'll put together a great presentation about human achievements. I look forward to learning about your peaceful traditions, Professor Velnara said. Class dismissed. Please have your presentations ready in 1 week. As the alien students filed out, chattering excitedly about their peaceful histories, the 3 humans remained in their seats. Well, that's going to be interesting, Carlos muttered. What are we going to tell them? Lisa asked quietly. Jack stared at the empty classroom. I have no idea. 3 days passed after Professor Velnara's assignment. The humans spent most of their time trying to figure out what to tell their alien friends about Earth's history. Every time they started to plan their presentation, they got stuck on the same problem. How do you explain war to beings who have never seen conflict? Jack sat in the Academy's recreation center staring at his datapad. He had been reading about the Roman Empire for the past hour, trying to find a way to make it sound peaceful. It wasn't working. Any luck? Lisa asked, sliding into the seat next to him. Not really, Jack said. I tried focusing on Roman engineering and roads, but somehow I keep coming back to the part where they conquered most of Europe. Carlos joined them, carrying a tray of food from the Academy's dining hall. The food was designed to be safe for all species, which meant it was pretty bland. I've been thinking about this backwards, he said. Instead of trying to hide our history, maybe we should show them something that makes us look good. Like, what? Lisa asked. A movie, Carlos said. Something that shows humans fighting for good reasons, like World War II. We were clearly the good guys in that one. Jack and Lisa looked at each other. Carlos, I don't think that's a good idea, Jack said slowly. Why not? We saved the world from fascism. We stopped genocide. If we have to show them fighting, at least we can show them fighting for the right reasons. Lisa shook her head. They don't understand the concept of fighting at all. Remember what Zexhai said about harmony? Or Moonbeam's collective consciousness? They literally can't imagine beings hurting each other. Which is exactly why we need to ease them into it, Carlos argued. Start with something where the moral lines are clear. Before Jack or Lisa could argue further, their alien friends appeared. In the recreation area, it was social time when different species shared entertainment from their homeworlds. Human friends, Zexhai called out, his crystal body glowing bright yellow with excitement. We are ready to share cultural experiences. This will help us understand each other better before our presentations. Moonbeam floated over in her containment suit, the gas inside swirling with happy colors. I have prepared a story dance from My People. It tells of the great joy when two gas clouds first learned to share thoughts. Quill moved slowly toward them, his leaves rustling with anticipation. I have grown a small garden that shows the pattern of the great growing. You will be able to see how my people learn to connect with each other. What about you, humans? Zexhai asked. What will you share from your world? Carlos stood up quickly, ignoring the warning looks from Jack and Lisa. I've got something perfect. It's called a documentary. It shows real events from human history. Real events? Moonbeam's gas swirled with curiosity. Like historical records? Exactly, Carlos said, pulling out a small projector device. This one is about a time when humans worked together to stop something very bad from happening. Lisa grabbed Carlos's arm. Carlos, maybe we should think about this more. It'll be fine, Carlos whispered back. Trust me. He activated the projector, and a holographic screen appeared in the air. The title appeared in galactic standard text, The Second World War, Humanity's Fight Against Evil. What is war? Quill asked, his leaves turning a confused shade of brown. It's like a big disagreement, Carlos said, but don't worry, it all works out in the end. The documentary began with scenes of 1930s Europe. The narrator explained how a group of humans had tried to take control of other groups of humans by force. The alien friends watched with growing confusion as the film showed armies marching, planes flying in formation, and ships moving across oceans. I do not understand, Zexhai said, his crystal body flickering between colors. Why are these humans moving in such organized groups, and what are those metal objects they are carrying? Those are weapons, Carlos explained, tools for fighting. Fighting? Moonbeam's gas swirled anxiously. What is fighting? Jack tried to jump in. It's when beings disagree about something, and they... His voice trailed off as the documentary showed its first battle scene. Explosions filled the screen. Tanks rolled across fields while planes dropped bombs from the sky. The sound of gunfire echoed through the recreation center. Quill's leaves immediately began to wilt. Those loud noises, are they causing damage? Well, yes, Carlos said, starting to realize his mistake. But it's for a good cause. The documentary continued, showing the scale of the conflict. Maps appeared showing how the war spread across continents. Numbers flashed on screen. Millions of soldiers, thousands of battles, entire cities destroyed. Zexhai's crystal body went completely dark, except for a tiny flicker of red light deep inside. Millions? Did that say millions of humans were involved in this? Fighting? It was a big disagreement, Carlos said weakly. Moonbeam's gas became agitated, swirling in sharp, jerky movements. But why? Why would beings hurt each other? In my species, if we have different ideas, we share chemical signals until we reach harmony. The film showed footage from concentration camps. The narrator explained the Holocaust in simple, factual terms. The alien friends went completely silent. Quill's leaves were now dropping to the floor. They deliberately caused suffering to their own species? Not their own species, Lisa tried to explain. They were different groups of humans, but the bad ones thought some groups were worth less than others. But you are all humans, Zexhai said, his voice barely audible through his crystal vibrations. How can members of the same species attack each other? That is like a crystal trying to shatter itself. The documentary moved on to show the industrial scale of warfare. Factories producing weapons, entire populations working to support the fighting. Technology being developed specifically to cause more damage. Your people built machines designed to harm other beings? Moonbeam asked, her voice shaking. You created tools with no purpose except destruction? Carlos paused the film. Look, it's not like that. These were special circumstances. Bad people were doing terrible things, so good people had to stop them. By doing terrible things to the bad people? Quill asked, his voice filled with sadness. Sometimes you have to fight to protect innocent people, Jack said, trying to help Carlos explain. But fighting causes harm, HFY said. In protecting some, you hurt others. How is this different from the bad people hurting innocents? The three humans looked at each other. They had never thought about it from this perspective before. It just is, Carlos said finally. Sometimes there's no choice. There is always a choice, Moonbeam said firmly. My people have never hurt anyone. HFY's people have never caused harm. Quill's people grow and nurture life. Why do humans choose to destroy? Lisa tried one more time. This was an extreme situation. Most human history isn't like this. But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't true. The aliens would find out soon enough. Carlos turned off the projector. The recreation center fell silent except for the sound of Quill's leaves hitting the floor. I think we need to return to our rest areas, HFY said quietly. His crystal body was still almost completely dark. We need time to process what we have learned. The three alien friends left without saying goodbye. Moonbeam's gas was moving in tight, worried circles. HFY's crystal form was dim and lifeless. Quill left a trail of fallen leaves behind him. Jack, Lisa, and Carlos sat alone in the recreation center. Well, Carlos said after a long silence, that could have gone better. You think? Lisa said sarcastically. Jack stared at the spot where the holographic screen had been. They looked terrified. Of us. Maybe they'll understand once they think about it, Carlos said hopefully. But deep down, all three humans knew that their alien friends wouldn't just think about what they had seen. They would want to learn more. And human history had a lot more to show them. That night, none of the alien students could rest. The images from the human documentary played over and over in their minds. They had never seen anything like it before. The idea that beings could organize to hurt each other was completely alien to them. HFY floated in his crystal chamber, his body flickering between dark red and black. He tried to meditate, to find the harmonic frequencies that usually brought him peace. But every time he started to calm down, he remembered the explosions and the numbers. Millions of humans fighting. Millions. He couldn't understand it. When the Veltar had disagreements, they simply changed their harmonic frequency until they found a note that felt right to everyone. It always worked. Always. How could humans not have something similar? Unable to find peace, HFY activated his data terminal. Maybe if he learned more about this war thing, he could understand it better. Maybe there was something the documentary hadn't explained. He typed human history into the Academy's research database. The results made his crystal body go completely dark. In the next chamber, Moonbeam was having similar problems. Her gas form kept swirling in agitated patterns. Every time she tried to settle into her normal, restful state, she remembered the tanks and planes from the film. Vehicles designed only to destroy other vehicles. It made no sense. Her species had never built anything meant to harm. They built things to help gas formations move, to communicate better, to share thoughts more clearly. The idea of building something to hurt others was like building a machine to hurt yourself. She activated her own terminal and began searching. The first thing she found was a list of human wars. The page went on and on. World War I, World War II, the Napoleonic Wars, the American Civil War, the 100 Years' War, the Crusades, the Mongol invasions. There were hundreds of them. Moonbeam's gas began spinning faster. How many wars did humans have? The documentary had made World War II sound like something unusual, something that happened because of especially bad people. But this list suggested that war was normal for humans. She clicked on one of the entries at random. The 30 Years' War. The description said it killed 8 million people and destroyed most of Central Europe. 8 million people dead from fighting. Her entire species didn't have 8 million individuals. Down the hall, Quill was rooted in his sleep chamber, but his leaves were trembling. Plant beings processed information slowly, but they processed it deeply. The documentary had shown him something that went against everything he understood about life. Plants grew. They reached toward the sun. They shared nutrients through their roots. They helped each other survive. The idea of one plant trying to kill another plant was impossible. Plants that fought each other would both die, but humans seemed to survive, fighting. More than survive, they seemed to get stronger from it. The documentary had shown how the war led to new technologies, new ways of organizing society. Fighting had somehow made humans more advanced. Quill extended a root tendril to his data terminal. His movements were slow and careful, but his search was thorough. He wanted to understand everything. The first thing he discovered was that humans had been fighting for their entire recorded history. Every century, every decade, there were conflicts. Some small, some large, but always present. The second thing he discovered was worse. Humans didn't just fight when they had to. They seemed to enjoy it. They had sports that simulated fighting. They told stories about great warriors. They built monuments to celebrate their victories in battle. His leaves began falling faster. Zexai's research had led him to military technology. He discovered that human advancement in science was often driven by the need to fight better. Rockets were first built as weapons. Computers were developed to calculate artillery trajectories. The internet started as a military communication system. This was the most disturbing discovery yet. The humans' peaceful achievements, their space stations, their art, their music, were built on foundations of war. Even their greatest accomplishments had roots in violence. He found records of human military academies, schools dedicated entirely to teaching people how to fight more effectively. There were thousands of these schools, and they had existed for centuries. Humans actually educated their young specifically for warfare. Moonbeam had discovered human languages. She was fascinated and horrified by how many words humans had for violence. There were dozens of words for different types of weapons, hundreds of words for different military ranks and positions. Entire vocabularies built around the concept of organized fighting. Her species had one word for disagreement, and it was rarely used. Humans had created entire dictionaries of conflict. She found military manuals, books that taught humans how to fight more effectively. The detail was incredible. Humans had studied warfare like her people studied gas dynamics or harmonic resonance. They had made fighting into a science. Quill's slow but thorough research had uncovered something even more disturbing. Human history wasn't just full of wars, it was shaped by them. Borders between human nations existed because of fighting. Languages had spread through conquest. Religions had grown through crusades and jihads. Everything about human civilization seemed to have war at its center. Their governments were designed to organize for conflict. Their economies were built to support armies. Their heroes were mostly warriors and generals. Even their peaceful leaders were defined by how they dealt with violence. Gandhi was famous for stopping fights without fighting back. Martin Luther King Jr. was remembered for ending conflict through non-violence. Even their peacemakers were shaped by war. As the night continued, the three alien friends began sharing their discoveries with each other. Zexai sent harmonic messages to Moonbeam's chamber. Moonbeam released chemical signals that Quill could detect through his root system. What they shared made each of them more frightened. Zexai shared his discovery about human technology. Everything humans had built seemed to come from military needs first, peaceful uses second. Moonbeam shared her findings about human language and culture. Violence was embedded in how humans thought and communicated. Quill shared the most disturbing discovery of all. He had calculated numbers. In human recorded history, there had been only a few decades of complete peace. Most of human existence had been spent either fighting wars or preparing for them. The three friends realized they were dealing with something unprecedented in galactic history. Every other species in the Academy had evolved past conflict before developing space travel. The Veltar had found harmony. The Serenity Nebula beings had achieved collective consciousness. The Garden Worlds had grown into unity. But humans had reached the stars while still carrying their violent nature with them. Worse yet, humans seemed to be good at hiding it. Jack, Lisa, and Carlos acted friendly and helpful. They had spent months at the Academy without showing any signs of aggression. Were they pretending to be peaceful? Were all humans capable of such deception? Moonbeam discovered that humans had something called military intelligence, the science of lying and hiding information from enemies. If humans could deceive each other so effectively during wars, how hard would it be for them to deceive alien species? HFY found records of human psychological warfare, using fear and confusion as weapons. Humans had learned to fight with ideas and emotions as well as physical force. Quill discovered that humans had fought wars that lasted generations. Some conflicts had continued for over 100 years. His species couldn't even imagine being angry about something for more than a few seasons. As the artificial dawn began to light up Kepler Prime, the three alien friends faced a terrible question. Were their human classmates dangerous? Jack seemed so helpful when he explained Earth's mathematics. Lisa appeared so kind when she shared human art techniques. Carlos looked so friendly when he taught them about human music. But now they knew the truth. These same beings came from a species that had turned violence into an art form. Their entire civilization was built on organized conflict. Their greatest achievements grew from their ability to destroy. The three aliens made a decision. They would meet in the morning to discuss what to do. They had to decide whether to report the humans to Academy security or to confront their classmates directly. Either way, they could never look at their human friends the same way again. As Kepler Prime's artificial sun rose, HFY's crystal body remained dark. Moonbeam's gas swirled in tight, worried patterns. Quill's leaves continued to fall, carpeting his chamber floor with the evidence of his distress. They had wanted to learn about their human friends. Now they wondered if they had learned too much. The next morning, Jack noticed something was wrong immediately. HFY's crystal body was completely gray, a color Jack had never seen before. Moonbeam's gas moved in sharp, jerky patterns inside her containment suit. Quill looked terrible. Half his leaves were gone, and the remaining ones were brown and wilted. "Hey guys," Jack said carefully as he approached their usual meeting spot in the Academy's central courtyard. "Are you feeling okay?" The three alien friends exchanged looks. Lisa and Carlos joined Jack, and they could see the tension immediately. "We need to talk," HFY said. His voice came out flat and cold, nothing like his usual musical tones. "Sure," Lisa said, sitting down on one of the benches. "What's on your minds?" Moonbeam floated closer, her gas swirling faster. "We did research last night about your species." Carlos felt his stomach drop. "Oh, what kind of research?" "All of it," Quill said slowly. His voice was even deeper than usual, filled with sadness. "We learned about human history, real human history." HFY's body flickered with dark red light. "You lied to us. You said humans were peaceful. You said you worked together and created beautiful things." "We do work together," Jack said quickly. "We do create beautiful things." "After you finished destroying things," Moonbeam said. Her voice was shaking. "We found the records, Jack. The 100 Years' War, the 30 Years' War, the Napoleonic Wars, hundreds of conflicts spanning your entire history." Lisa closed her eyes. "You weren't supposed to find out like this." "Find out what?" Quill demanded, his remaining leaves rustling angrily. "That your species has spent most of its existence trying to kill itself? That you've built your entire civilization on organized violence?" "It's not that simple," Carlos said. "Then explain it," HFY said. His crystal body was getting brighter, shifting from gray to angry red. "Explain why humans have words for over 50 different types of weapons. Explain why you built schools to teach your children how to fight. Explain why every single one of your technological advances came from trying to hurt each other better. The three humans looked at each other. They had known this moment would come eventually, but they hadn't expected it to feel this bad. Jack took a deep breath. Okay, you want the truth? I'll give you the truth. But you have to promise to listen to all of it, not just the parts that scare you. We are listening, Moonbeam said coldly. Jack stood up and began pacing. Earth is different from your worlds. It's what the galaxy classifies as a death world. Do you know what that means? A world where life is difficult, Quill said. Difficult doesn't begin to cover it, Jack said. Earth has ice ages that freeze entire continents, volcanoes that can block out the sun for years, earthquakes that split the ground open, hurricanes that can destroy entire cities, floods, droughts, plagues, asteroid impacts. He stopped pacing and looked at his alien friends. Your worlds are peaceful because they're safe. Earth tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. That explains natural disasters, HFY said. It doesn't explain why you fight each other. Lisa stood up to help Jack. Because Earth didn't just try to kill us with weather and geology. It put us in competition with everything else that lived there. Giant predators that could eat us. Diseases that could wipe out entire groups, plants that were poisonous, animals that were stronger and faster than us, and limited resources, Carlos added. Not enough food for everyone, not enough water, not enough safe places to live. When there isn't enough for everyone, you have to compete for what exists. But you could share, Moonbeam said. My people, share everything. Your people evolved as a collective consciousness, Jack said. You literally think the same thoughts. We're individuals, separate beings with separate needs and separate ideas about how to survive. Quill's leaves rustled unhappily. Competition doesn't require violence. Plants compete for sunlight, but they don't try to kill each other. Plants don't have to worry about other plants eating them, Lisa said. Humans started as prey animals. We were food for bigger, stronger creatures. The only way we survived was by working together in groups and learning to fight back. Jack sat back down, his voice getting quieter. Fighting wasn't something we chose because we enjoyed it. It was something we had to learn because everything else on our planet was trying to kill us. But you continued fighting after you became the strongest species, HFY pointed out. You fought each other. Because the competition didn't stop, Carlos said. Earth kept throwing challenges at us. Droughts would mean some groups had water, and others didn't. Crop failures would mean some areas had food and others starved. Natural disasters would force populations to move into areas where other people already lived. Lisa picked up the explanation. When you're used to fighting for survival, and resources are limited, conflicts happen. But here's what you missed. In your research, humans also learned cooperation at the same time we learned conflict. What do you mean? Moonbeam asked. War requires massive cooperation, Jack said. You can't fight a war with just one person. You need thousands of people working together, following orders, sharing resources, coordinating activities. Some of humanity's greatest acts of cooperation happened during our wars, Carlos nodded. And every war taught us something about how to avoid the next one. We learned diplomacy to prevent conflicts. We developed laws to limit how wars could be fought. We created international organizations to help settle disputes peacefully. The same challenges that made us good at fighting also made us good at working together, Lisa said. We learned that cooperation was stronger than competition, but it took us time to figure that out. Quill's remaining leaves were slowly turning from brown back to green. So you're saying humans fight because your world forced you to? We fought because our world forced us to, Jack corrected. Past tense. Modern humans rarely fight wars anymore. We've learned better ways to solve problems. HFY's crystal body flickered between red and orange. But you still could fight. You still have the ability. Yes, Jack said honestly. We still have the ability. But having the ability to do something doesn't mean you will do it. Lisa stood up and walked over to HFY. You have the ability to create sounds that could shatter crystal. Your harmonic frequencies could probably break every window in this academy, but you don't do that because you choose not to. That's different, HFY said, but his voice was less certain. Is it? Carlos asked. You choose harmony over discord. We choose cooperation over conflict. The difference is that we had to learn that choice the hard way. Moonbeam's gas was swirling more slowly now. But your capacity for violence, it's still there. Yes, Jack admitted. It's still there. But so is our capacity for cooperation, creativity, love, sacrifice, and building beautiful things. We're not just our worst impulses. In fact, Lisa said, I think our capacity for violence makes our choice of peace more meaningful. It's easy to be peaceful when you don't have any other option. It's harder to choose peace when you could choose conflict. Quill was quiet for a long time, his leaves gradually returning to their normal green color. Finally, he spoke. Your world shaped you to be warriors, but you chose to become more than that. We're still becoming more, Carlos said. Every generation of humans gets better at cooperation and worse at conflict. We're not perfect, but we're learning. And that's what you want to show us, Moonbeam asked? That humans can choose to be better than their nature? Jack nodded. Every day, billions of humans wake up and choose not to fight. Choose to help instead of hurt. Choose to build instead of destroy. We're the same species that fought those wars, but we're also the species that ended slavery, cured diseases, and built space stations where beings from different worlds can learn together. HFY's crystal body was slowly brightening, shifting from red to orange to yellow. You're saying that understanding conflict makes you better at preventing it? Exactly, Lisa said. We know what war costs. We know what violence does. That's why we work so hard to avoid it now. The alien friends sat quietly, processing this new understanding. Finally, Quill spoke. We were afraid of you, he said simply. We thought you might be dangerous. We are dangerous, Jack said honestly, but we choose not to be. That's what makes us human. Over the next few days, something changed in the way the alien friends looked at their human classmates. It wasn't fear anymore, but it wasn't the same innocent friendship either. It was something deeper, more thoughtful. HFY found himself watching Jack during their mathematics class. He noticed how Jack always helped other students who were struggling, even when it meant extra work for himself. Before, HFY had thought this was just natural kindness. Now he understood it was a choice. Jack could have ignored the struggling students, but he chose to help instead. Moonbeam observed Lisa during their art appreciation course. Lisa had been teaching Moonbeam about human painting techniques, sharing her knowledge freely. Moonbeam realized that Lisa could have kept this knowledge to herself, gaining an advantage in their assignments. Instead, she chose to share. This generosity meant more now that Moonbeam understood humans weren't naturally programmed to cooperate, like her own species. Quill watched Carlos during their biology sessions. Carlos had a quick mind and often finished his work first, but instead of moving ahead alone, he always waited to help Quill understand the more difficult concepts. Quill's plant-based thinking was slower than human thought, but Carlos never showed him patience. He chose patience over efficiency. The alien friends began to notice other things too. In the Academy's dining hall, humans always made sure everyone at their table had enough food before taking seconds for themselves. During group projects, humans divided work fairly instead of taking the easiest tasks. When conflicts arose between other species, humans often stepped in as mediators, helping find solutions that worked for everyone. These behaviors had seemed natural before. Now the aliens understood they were choices. A week after their confrontation, Professor Velnara announced it was time for the history presentations. The alien friends had prepared their talks about peaceful evolution and harmonic societies, but now they were curious about what the humans would present. Jack, Lisa, and Carlos took the stage first. They had spent days preparing their presentation, trying to find the right way to tell their story. We want to tell you about human history, Jack began, but not the way we originally planned. We want to tell you the real story because you deserve to know the truth about who we are. The holographic display showed images of early Earth, volcanic eruptions, ice sheets covering continents, massive storms, and dangerous predators filled the screen. This is where humans came from, Lisa said. A world that tried to kill us every day. We didn't choose to become fighters. We became fighters because everything else was stronger, faster, and more dangerous than we were. Carlos showed images of early human communities, small groups of people working together to survive, sharing food and tools, protecting each other from predators and natural disasters. But even when we learned to fight, we also learned to cooperate, Carlos said. Human children are helpless for years after birth. They can only survive if adults work together to protect and feed them. Fighting kept us alive, but cooperation kept our species alive. The presentation moved through human history, but not the way most history books told it. Instead of focusing on wars and conquests, it showed how each conflict taught humans something new about cooperation. The Roman Empire wasn't just about conquest, Jack explained. It was about learning to organize millions of people across vast distances. Romans built roads, aqueducts, and legal systems that helped different groups work together. Medieval guilds weren't just about protecting trades, Lisa added. They were about learning that people could cooperate across family and tribal lines, creating new kinds of communities based on shared skills instead of shared blood. The world wars weren't just about fighting, Carlos said. They were about learning that humans could work together on a global scale. The same cooperation skills that won those wars later built the United Nations, international aid organizations, and global scientific collaboration. The alien friends watched with growing fascination. They began to see human history not as a series of violent conflicts, but as a long learning process about cooperation and community. Zexhai raised a crystal appendage. You're saying that your wars taught you how to build peace? Exactly, Jack said. Every war showed us the cost of conflict. Every victory taught us that cooperation was stronger than competition. We learned that working together achieved better results than fighting each other. Moonbeam's gas swirled thoughtfully. So modern humans fight less because you learned it. Doesn't work as well as cooperation? Right, Lisa said. We still have the ability to fight, but we've learned that other approaches work better for solving problems. Quill's leaves rustled with understanding. Your species had to discover cooperation through trial and error. Our species evolved with it built in, which might make our cooperation less meaningful, Carlos said. You cooperate because you can't help it. We cooperate because we've learned it's better. Professor Velnara, who had been listening carefully, spoke up. Are you suggesting that humans are better at cooperation because you had to work harder to achieve it? The humans looked at each other. Not better, Jack said carefully. Different. We understand both conflict and cooperation because we've experienced both. That might make us useful in situations where other species would struggle. What kind of situations? Zexhai asked. Lisa thought for a moment. Situations where cooperation breaks down, where resources are limited, where different groups have incompatible needs, where quick decisions are needed in dangerous circumstances. You mean crisis situations, Moonbeam said. Exactly, Carlos said. Species that evolved in peaceful environments might not know how to handle genuine emergencies or conflicts. Humans have been handling crisis situations for our entire history. Quill's eye leaves were turning a bright, interested green. So humans might be valuable allies precisely because you understand conflict? And because we've learned to choose cooperation over conflict, Jack added. We're not warlike by choice. We're cooperative by choice. That might make our cooperation more reliable in difficult situations. Professor Velnara nodded approvingly. This is a fascinating perspective. You're suggesting that diversity and evolutionary backgrounds create strength in cooperation? Yes, Lisa said. Every species brings different strengths to galactic civilization. Zexhai's people bring harmony and beautiful art. Moonbeam's people bring collective wisdom and shared consciousness. Quill's people bring patience and long-term thinking. And humans bring crisis management and adaptive cooperation. Carlos concluded. Zexhi's crystal body was glowing bright gold now, the color of excitement and new understanding. We were afraid that your capacity for conflict made you dangerous, but it might actually make you protective. How so? Jack asked. Species that understand conflict might be better at preventing it, Moonbeam said, her gas swirling in quick, happy patterns. You know what leads to fighting, so you can stop problems before they become conflicts. Quill nodded slowly. And if genuine threats arise, natural disasters, resource shortages, external dangers, humans would know how to organize responses quickly and effectively. The three alien friends looked at their human classmates with new eyes. They were no longer seeing potential threats or innocent friends. They were seeing partners who brought different but valuable skills to their galactic community. Professor Velnara smiled with all 6 of her eyes. I believe you have all learned something important today. Strength comes not from similarity, but from diversity. Each species contributes different abilities to our shared civilization. After class, the 6 friends walked together toward the recreation center. The atmosphere was different now, not the naive happiness of their early friendship, but something deeper and more meaningful. I have a question, Zexhi said as they walked. If humans are so good at preventing conflicts, why do you still have disagreements on Earth? Jack laughed. Because we're still learning. We're not perfect at cooperation yet, we're just better at it than we used to be. And, Lisa added, because some problems are genuinely difficult. Even with the best cooperation, different groups sometimes have needs that conflict with each other. That's where human skills become really valuable, Carlos said. We're good at finding solutions that work for everyone even when the problems seem impossible. Moonbeam's gas swirled thoughtfully. So humans are like problem solvers for the galaxy? Maybe, Jack said. If the galaxy ever faces real challenges, resource shortages, natural disasters, or genuine threats, humans might be able to help, find solutions. Quill's leaves rustled with contentment. I think I understand now. We were afraid of your capacity for conflict, but that capacity combined with your choice of cooperation might be exactly what the galaxy needs. As they entered the recreation center, the 6 friends settled into their usual spot. But their friendship was different now. It was based not on innocent assumption, but on real understanding. They knew each other's strengths and limitations. They appreciated each other's different backgrounds and abilities. Most importantly, they had learned that true friendship required understanding not just similarities but differences. And in a galaxy full of diverse species, that was perhaps the most valuable lesson of all.